Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Art Podcast with your hosts, Collin and Braeden Cox. And the National League Championship Series and the American League Championship Series have just wrapped up. Diamondbacks and Rangers both won in Game 7 and will be advancing to the World Series. So Braeden and I are going to give you our reactions here and preview the matchup between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks coming this Friday as we record here on Wednesday. So two teams that not really many people were expecting to be in it, I would say. Rangers, I'm sure some people had them, good offensive all year. But when it comes to the Diamondbacks, I don't think anyone except for our good friend, former guest, Mickey Grennan, really expected them to be making it this far. And this overall crazy Game 7s for both series there. And I just think it's been good for baseball all around. Braeden, what are your first reactions and thoughts to the Diamondbacks and Rangers?
I think it's good for the game. We did our postseason prediction, and obviously neither of us had either of these teams in the World Series. I had the Diamondbacks losing to the Brewers, right? And I had the Texas Rangers losing to the Rays. But I did say in that video that if the Rangers were to get past Tampa, they're going to be tough to beat because don't let them get hot because that lineup is nasty. And, it came true, both teams, very, very impressive. I know, there's been a lot of discussion. You and I have even had private discussions where we've talked about, is the MLB postseason format broken or does it need to be adjusted or, just discussed overall? And,
right.
I would listen to someone's arguments on that, but let's not discredit, what these two teams have done. Both teams went on the road in the wild card round, played basically all road games, right? Look at the Rangers and the Astros. The away team won every single game, which is kind of fluky, right? But still, I don't think the Rangers lost a single away game this postseason, which is really, really impressive. Is that right? Because they went to Baltimore, they went to Tampa, and then they didn't.
I think they won 2 in Tampa, so definitely not there. They won.
They
both
swept
games
Baltimore.
in Baltimore, I think.
Yeah, and then they won all 4 on the road and against the Astros. So
Houston,
it's still very impressive how it happened. Both teams kind of went on the road and did it. You could sit here and you could argue the format might need to be adjusted where they just do a reseeding after every round. I'd get that. I'd understand it. I may even agree with you, but that doesn't discredit, the Rangers going on the road, looking very dominant in basically every single game they played. And the Diamondbacks, they lost those first 2 in Philly, then went home and won 2 out of 3. And basically, even up to, when the series was 2-2, everyone was like, the Phillies got this, right? Because there's 2 at the bank to be played. And it didn't matter. Right. It didn't matter, even especially after the Diamondbacks went down 3. Very, very impressive out of both teams. So I can't be mad. Nothing was too fluky.
No.
The Diamondbacks won 84 games. I can understand the argument there that the best teams aren't necessarily participating in the World Series this year. But all that matters is October, right? Who is the best in October? These are the 2 best teams in October, without a doubt, I'd say.
Right. So my first reaction, I guess I'll start with the ALCS. I know you said back in the summertime in July, I want to say, you said, I think a Rangers-Astros series would be awesome. The Texas rivalry there, AL West rivalries. And obviously, as we know, it came true in the ALCS. And it was a great series. You had the Rangers go up 2-0 in Houston. And then the Astros took a 3-2 lead after that. Altuve had that big 3-run home run. That basically put that, I think it was game 4 or 5 away.
Yeah.
And then, Astros had all the momentum going back into Houston, and then Rangers stepped up again and then won those 2 games, 2 games away in Houston. And I just think it's pretty crazy that, for one thing, this is the 4th time since the championship series has been a best of 7, just the 4th time that both CSs went to game 7. And I think it's also crazy that both teams that advanced were down 3-2 at one point.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just overall great for the game. I'm not sure about the actual matchup in the World Series now. I saw this. I heard that I think it was the ALCS was one of the lowest ALCS ratings for Game 7 ever.
Really?
From yesterday's, yeah. Yeah, I was kind of shocked by that whenever it was. I think it was Monday.
Yeah.
Monday now, yeah. So, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I just think... Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think you got the Texas market, right? And this isn't, a diss on, Texas by any means, right? Just the state overall, the Astros and the Texas Rangers. But they're not the Dodgers, right? They're not Philadelphia. They're not New York. They're not Chicago. You know what I mean? They're not... Although, Houston has been in the ALCS, 7 straight years? At the end of the day, it's not a huge ratings, galore for baseball. And neither is the World Series. You know what I mean? We're talking about Phoenix and we're talking about Dallas. And two teams that don't even call themselves by, the city that they play in, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a ratings nightmare for the MLB, but I think for real baseball fans, unbiased, I'm really excited because both teams are playing great brands of baseball. The Rangers offense lights out right now. Diamondbacks bullpen looks like the best bullpen in baseball. So I'm very excited regardless.
Yeah, and that's another good point. I think probably not many casual baseball fans outside of Texas really watch the ALCS. That's probably another factor. But like you just said, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I know, D-backs Rangers isn't going to get the casual fan to be, putting time away to watch the World Series, but I feel like it's great for, real baseball fans like us. It'll just be a good overall.
Who just love the game.
Two great, yeah. It's going to be a great matchup, I think. And we'll get into our predictions a little bit later in this episode here. So going back to the NLCS side of things. So obviously Phillies take a 2-0 lead going back to Arizona. You think, maybe the Diamondbacks can win one or two, make it a series a little bit, maybe make it go 5 or 6 games. And then next thing you know, it's a 2-2 series after that was the Alec Thomas home run, right?
Yes.
The 3-run homer. That was game 4. So that made it 2-2. And then the Phillies take a 3-2 lead, game 5. Game 5, and there's no way the Phillies coming back to the bank and losing both of them, right?
Yep.
And then next thing you know, Diamondbacks get a sneaky win game 6, and then it all comes down to game 7, and D-backs were able to pull out the upset in Philadelphia. I think this is one of the bigger baseball upsets we've seen in a while, Braeden.
I would say it's one of the bigger sports upsets we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Right? Just overall, because the big thing in this series was you got to play at the bank, right? That was that was what they kind of ride and died by. And
games 1 and 2, the Diamondbacks lost at the bank.
They lost 10. They lost 10-0 in the first game.
Shell shock.
Or in the second game.
That was
second game. They looked bad. I mean, the first game I think was 5-3. So it
was 5-3, but it was 5-0. It was 5-0, but they kind of chipped away late innings. But they weren't really coming back really.
We had your cousin, we had Frankie on the pod after that second game, and even though I picked Diamondbacks in our previous episode, I think pretty much everyone besides Diamondback fans were this is over, right? Because
I'm sure even Diamondbacks fans thought it was over. Because
it's even if the Diamondbacks go and win 3 on the road or at home, but Philly on the road, the bank was just such a factor in those first 2 games. You could tell,
right?
So when Philly stole game 5, it was really tough for a lot of people to be the Phillies are going to lose this because they're just going to fall apart in game 6 and 7 at home. I just don't think that was really thought of. But it happened, and that's October for you.
Yeah. I was going to say, everyone heard Mad Dog Russo say if the Diamondbacks win the last 2 games of the series, he'll retire on the spot. Haven't really caught up with that today.
Well, he was on ESPN, he was on First Take, and he was Stephen A's intern today because he has to start all over. which is pretty funny. But man, I mean, credit to where credit's due. They went into the bank and they did it. You can't really take that away from them.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
And I think that's why it's one of the bigger sports updates. Upsets we've seen.
Yeah, definitely. I did say in the episode with Kresge and Mickey that Phillies would win in 7, mostly because I felt the Phillies had a deeper bullpen, but the Diamondbacks bullpen definitely proved me wrong after that. I feel like the Diamondbacks had a deeper bullpen than the Phillies after watching throughout the postseason. I think it's fair to say that Phillies had more depth on offense side of things, but the bullpen is what wins the games in October, and the Diamondbacks bullpen definitely showed up and carried them basically to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing with that is us in the Northeast, we didn't know who these dudes were in the bullpen.
No.
We knew Gallen. That was about it. We knew Brandon Pfaadt. You know what I mean? We knew of these guys, but we didn't know. We saw these guys coming in Game 7. That the most exciting inning of the entire game yesterday, because it wasn't back and forth homers. It wasn't this huge electric game. It was just the Diamondbacks played the brand of baseball where they stole a ton of bases. I think they stole 4 bases yesterday. Corbin Carroll had probably the game of his career.
Leading to a lot of 2-out singles that led to runs. I don't know why they haven't been doing that all series, but keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a super explosive, exciting, a lot of homers hit. But the Diamondbacks played their brand of baseball. And the most exciting inning, and I texted you this, I just said, wow. Right? Because after the 8th inning, this guy comes into the game, and I've never heard of him. I mean, I heard of him in this series, but not before this series started, and he just struck out the side, no problem. Swinging strikeouts, too, in the dirt, it was filth. And I was dude, I was what's going on?
You're talking about Ginkle, right? Ginks?
Yeah, Ginkle.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, because I knew the guy, but I didn't, know he was that.
Yeah. Kind of slept on him. We slept on the whole Diamondbacks pitching staff there. We never really thought their hitting would be a huge problem, because we know, they were scrappy, they'd get singles, steal bases, but they were missing that.
They weren't doing that for the first 5 games.
4, yeah, not at all. And then they go back to their brand of baseball, Game 7, do or die. And next thing you know, that's literally how they won the game. Was their brand of baseball was what won them the game. Small balls, those were the runners over, steal bases, and then give it to the pen.
Both those games, Game 6 and 7. Sorry to interrupt you. Both Games 6 and 7, were the closest, most I don't even know how to describe it. Closest, most dominant wins ever. They were 4-2, but it felt like the Diamondbacks had control of that entire game last
momentum.
time.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it.
You know what I mean? It was 4-2, so it wasn't they killed them like the Rangers did in Game 7 to the Astros. But it felt like the Diamondbacks had complete control of that game from the very beginning. Right. And another point I'd like to make is when the Diamondbacks scored first and then the Phils went up 2-1, right? I had a feeling that they were going to do it when the Phils went up 2-1 and they answered back immediately. They went right back to their brand of baseball and answered back and tied the game. I was I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to end up winning this game. I think they're going to score more runs than them.
When Bohm had that solo shot to make it 1-1, and then Stott had the double to make it 2-1, and then you're it's probably Phillies are going to get hot now.
Yep. And then the Diamondbacks answered right away, back.
Scored 2 runs. Yeah. A lot of credit to the D-backs there. They went away from their brand of baseball a little bit in the first couple games, but brought it back in Game 7. Corbin Carroll hasn't had the greatest postseason. I mean, he had a good wild card and DS series, but hasn't really done much in the CS. But then yesterday he was couldn't get him out yesterday. He was getting on, stealing bases, getting runs in, and just overall really fun to watch.
And I don't know, I don't have all the stats here, but I guarantee you that just watching the Diamondbacks play this postseason, right? They don't score a ton of runs, right? But I guarantee you they probably lead the league in stolen bases, right? And they're in the World Series, right? At the end of the day, we have these high flying teams like the Braves who score a ton of runs and have 7 players on the team or whatever and hitting 20 plus or 25 plus home runs. And then we have a team like the Diamondbacks who are just scrappy. They steal bases, they get in scoring position, and they hit singles, they hit doubles, and they get runs across the plate that way. And that's what ended up being victorious in the series.
Yeah. All right, one more thing about the NLCS. 2 minutes here before we get into the World Series preview.
Sure.
Bray, what do you think? What happened to the Phillies? Because they looked unstoppable games 1 and 2. I even captioned our last episode. Can anyone stop the Phillies? Because they had just come off a 5-3 to 10-0 win going into Chase. So what do you think happened? Like, what are your thoughts there? Quick minute or so. Give your thoughts, and then I'll give mine.
It's tough to narrow it down to really one thing. I mean, the lineup went cold, ice cold.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The first few games of this series, Schwarber, Castellanos were lighting it up. Right. Then all of a sudden, nothing at home. That was the surprising thing for me. Right. Because we talked about how the series was 2-3-2. Right. 2 games in Philly, 3 in Arizona, 2 in Philly. I don't know. I certainly wasn't expecting it. The lineup went cold. And the Diamondbacks bullpen rallied, put it together. They figured it out.
Credit's due.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we got to give more credit to the Diamondbacks and more fault on the Phillies. The Phillies, though, I mean, and I hate to be this guy, but this was basically the same roster as last year, right? For the most part, right? We'd say, plus Trey Turner, right? So, all in all, the Phillies, I don't know about you, but I'd say this was a failure of a season, right? Because you went and you spent, a couple $100 million on a guy who kind of fell apart in the final few games. And I'm not really I'm not trying to shit on, the lineup and Trey Turner specifically, but it was kind of World Series or bust after last year, especially.
Yeah, especially I want to say after beating the Braves. I feel like after beating the Braves,
well, that's what we
everyone
talked
thought
about.
They got past the hard part. Yeah,
we talked about this on here when we were filling out our brackets. We both picked the Braves to end up in the World Series, right? And we said the one team that can stop them is Philadelphia, and if Philadelphia stops them, they're going to win the World Series.
Right.
Ran into the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. So my quick thoughts on that. I think you hit the nail on the head for the most part. So yeah, Phillies were super hot, all wild card DS, and then even the first 2 games of the CS, and all of a sudden they just went so cold. I've never seen
swinging at the dirt.
A team go from that hot. Yeah, I've never seen a team go from that hot to that cold. In a matter of one game, really, and even their game 5 win, yeah, they got a couple scrappy home runs late in the game.
Yeah.
But they weren't that electrifying runs that we saw in the first throughout the whole postseason until game 4 there.
Yeah.
Or game 3, I should say.
Yeah, you're right. It was like night and day. And I just don't think anybody really expected it, especially at home. If it would have happened on the road, I'd be like, okay, I can kind of understand that you're traveling across the country, but it was literally night and day. It was a different team was playing game 1 versus game 7. Completely different team. Or you could even say game 2. But
right. Yeah, so and then I just want to give credit to the D-backs bullpen as well.
Absolutely.
The Phillies bats went cold, but that's because they were so shut down there. I think they're the best bullpen ERA of all teams this postseason. I didn't look up the stat enough time today, but I'm sure it's I think it's sub 2. It has to be.
Yeah. They're in the dance. That's all that matters. Yeah.
So I guess maybe next week, Brady and I were talking about maybe getting, some of our Phillies fans and ask them what their thoughts are and, just what went wrong in Philadelphia on October 24th, 2023.
Yeah. And we'll also definitely have to get, our beloved Diamondbacks fan on. Maybe after the World Series, if things go well for them there.
All right. So I guess we'll get into the World Series preview now. Diamondbacks versus Rangers. I think we talked about, obviously Texas Rangers have that very good offense, good starting pitching as well. But the D-backs, they play that small ball, scrappy ball, find a way to get runs across, and they have a stellar bullpen. Braeden, what's your World Series prediction and how many games?
Tough because we're talking about that October Magic. Definitely in the air. Definitely after this postseason, we got 2 wildcard teams representing the American and the NL in the World Series. So, to be 100% honest with you, I wouldn't be mad if either team won, right? Because both have their have their pros. Like the Diamondbacks are such the Cinderella. They remind me of the Nationals in 2019, where they had a good team, but it was kind of like a magical run that got them there.
Right.
Texas Rangers. There's Jordan Montgomery, former Yankee. Right? Mm-hmm. There's stuff to like about the Rangers. I like the lineup. I love Corey Seager. He's one of my favorite baseball players outside the Yankees. My heart...
Wait, Brandon, let me ask you this. Let's go through this first, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Who has the better starting pitching, Rangers or Diamondbacks, would you say?
Right now, you got to give the edge to the Rangers. You got Nate the Great, and you got Jordan Montgomery. Absolutely. And I want to throw Scherzer in there because I feel like Scherzer could just turn it on all of a sudden, but...
Yeah, that's true. I have a feeling like he, got a couple starts in there now. You never know when he could be lights out again. All right, so you're going Rangers better pitching. Who has the better hitting, Rangers or D-backs? This one's a little tougher.
I'm going also with the Texas Rangers here. Lineup from hell.
I agree.
Garcia.
I agree.
Corey Seager.
Hot Rangers.
Evan Carter, the breakout. Jeremy Pena was the breakout star last postseason. It's Evan Carter this postseason. Yeah. I think across the board, I would probably say the Rangers.
Right, and then final question, real quick: Who has the better bullpen?
That's gonna go to the Diamondbacks for sure. That's
right.
To me, it's not very close. I would say right now.
Yeah, because Rangers, think about it, they have Leclerc, right, who's been solid all year.
Yeah.
But besides him, you have Chapman, right?
Yeah. Who's been a joke.
Guy they throw?
Who's been a joke.
Yeah. Who's the other guy that they have? I forget his name. They have one other guy, but he's not as good as the D-backs is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think the Rangers have the better offense and pitching, starting pitching, but I think the Diamondbacks have the better bullpen. So yeah, now you give me...
I think
who you think is
it's tough. I think my heart wants the Diamondbacks, but my mind is telling me the Texas Rangers are going to win the World Series, just because they're going to outslug the Diamondbacks. I'll say the Rangers beat Diamondbacks. I want to say 6. But I don't know. I feel like that the Diamondbacks brand of baseball is going to make this 7-game series. So I'm going to say Rangers in 7.
Okay. That's a good prediction there. It's also funny because I feel like home and away in this series doesn't really play a factor.
Not as huge of a factor.
The Rangers won all their games in the CS on the road, yeah. And then Diamondbacks, Chase Field isn't particularly Citizens Bank Park, but it's going to be rocking.
Yeah,
but probably not any more than Houston was these past couple of days. So I don't think home field advantage is going to play a huge factor.
I'll make this prediction right now: the Diamondbacks will win a game in Texas. They're going to win one of those first 2 games. Yeah, I would definitely say it's going to leave 1-1 probably.
Yeah, probably. I also forgot to mention that Zach Gallen, if you would have told me that the Diamondbacks would advance to the World Series against the Phillies and Zach Gallen had 2 losses, I would have thought, I don't know, I would have thought you were on drugs or something.
You're crazy.
But here we are. Their ace lost 2 games and they still
didn't pitch well in either of them. Like,
no,
100% honest. To be 100% honest.
Yeah.
So what is your World Series prediction?
Here's the thing, Braeden. I've been counting out the Diamondbacks. I predicted they'd win against the Brewers in the wild card, and I literally said for no particular reason, just because it's going to be an upset. It's what it's going to be. And I got that right, but I didn't think they'd get past the Dodgers. and I didn't think they could pass the Phillies, but they keep proving me wrong. So I don't want to count them out because I feel like
I'm not counting them out.
Prove me wrong again.
I'm not counting them out by picking the Rangers. Let's just get
right.
that clear.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking anything away from the Diamondbacks here. It's tough. I think it's going to go 7 games.
I agree. Definitely.
I like the Rangers starting pitching a lot.
But the bullpen wins games in the playoffs.
The bullpen wins games in the playoffs is, we said that earlier in this episode. The Diamondbacks have the better bullpen. But I think I'm going to have to go Rangers in 7 as well, Braeden. Their offense, they are more consistent than the Phillies, I would say. Because, the Phillies, it wasn't a secret that they're super streaky when it comes to their offense. And last year and then up until the CS this year, they were just hot, and then they went cold again out of nowhere. I think the Rangers offense is a little more consistent. But I don't know. I just feel like if I say the Diamondbacks aren't going to win like everyone else does, they're just going to prove everyone wrong again. So I'm not taking anything away. The Diamondbacks have proved they're a good team. They proved that they should be here.
They're going to win 3 games in this series.
Yeah.
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 And I would be very okay if they proved me wrong. Very okay.
Right.
I'm cool with either team winning it at this point.
Yeah. I would say, Rangers have a little more experience, but I said that about the Phillies too, and look what happened, right?
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks show that they're meant to be here, not taking anything away from them. They're a great ball team. I just think the Magic is going to run with the Rangers for Game 7 here, and Rangers going to take it in 7.
Very good. So we're on the same page. Rangers in 7 in the yard.
Yes, sir. Rangers in 7. D-backs, prove us wrong, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have Mickey on if they shock the world.
Yeah, busy man, that Mickey.
Yeah, very
but
good.
We gotta call up MLB Network. Make sure he has a ticket to the World Series and a flight.
Yeah, this is true. They got to get Mickey to the World Series. The only Diamondbacks fan we know. I mean, we talked about this. We don't even know any Texas Rangers fans. So.
No, we definitely have a Rangers fan, but we don't know any. So
yeah,
that's what's cool about the Phillies. We're kind of wishing the Phillies would advance a little forward. So have more episodes with our buddies content there. But yeah,
cool.
All right, thanks everyone for listening. In the yard, Rangers in 7, World Series preview, and thanks for watching. We gotta get outro music out here.